I would like to welcome Dr. Heba Wanim, Assistant Professor of Economics at the German University in Cairo, and Ms. Jalila El-Jadidi. She is former adjunct faculty of management at University and currently business system analyst in Commonwealth of Massachusetts Energy and Environmental Protection Department. So, please raise your hand. Are you there?
Yes, thank you, Ragda, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, and thanks for all organizers for their outstanding effort in making this virtual event. Thank you so much, Owen.
So, we will start with Dr. Heba. Dr. Heba would like you.
No, we will start with Jalila. I prefer we start with Jalila.
Okay. So.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, but we cannot
perfect.
see you actually.
You cannot see me. Interesting. I'm able to see myself. Okay, so I'm going to see stuff and then start the video again. How about now?
Not now. Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm going to move
Go ahead.
here so I can see. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Jalila, and I will be presenting our paper, "The struggles to break the corporate board ceiling: the case of women in North Africa." I'm presenting on behalf of our co-author, Dr. R.C. Sonia, who's an assistant professor in finance in Carthage Business School in Tunis, and Dr. Renee Heba, who's the economics lecturer and will be at GUC and will be presenting next right after me. I just want to take a quick moment here to introduce myself to you. Let me see if this is working. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I have close to 2 decades experience in various industries. Most recently, I was the Director of Academic Affairs and Accreditation at Bentley University, and I'm currently a business system analyst consultant working for the environmental department here in Massachusetts. And I'm also pursuing a PhD in international business, and my interest is in how humans interact with technology, humans meaning male, female, seniors, different demographics, and how do they adapt or not to the change of technology. So it's a little bit a sweet spot between management and gender equality and also UX, user experience research. So like Dr. Al-Khafif said earlier yesterday that the engineers develop product and the marketers market them. I come in between where I do some sort of validation and some sort of usability testing to make sure that the products that are being created match what the users or the end users need. So I know this is the last session of this great gathering, and I'd like to go ahead and allow me to go straight to the point as to why we did the study, what is it that we were trying to find out, and what were our findings. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. So just how we get to this point. My co-authors and I met at a conference here in Massachusetts, and we were approached by the Prime Series editors to help, assess what's going on, to look at the struggles and lessons associated with attaining the SDG goals. At the time, there was a great focus on research, on academic research related to the post-Arab Spring era, similar to what's happening today, call for papers for the post-COVID-19 era. And so we decided to take on the challenge, and Dr. Arsi was in Tunis, Dr. Heba in Egypt, and myself in Massachusetts. So we used SDG number 5 as a guiding principle, and hand-collected data from each of the country stock exchanges for 285 companies from Egypt, 73 from Morocco, the Casablanca Stock Exchange, and 82 companies from the Tunisian Stock Exchange. So I'd like to just take a few moments to explain what we mean by SDG 5 and how it's related to SDG 8 and how it's related to SDG 1, which is no poverty, and SDG 10, which relates to reduced inequality. Dr. Ghanem will be focusing mostly on SDG number 8, but our paper is related to SDG number 5. To give you a little bit background for those who are not familiar with SDG, back in September 2015, the General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development under the idea of leaving no one behind, and the goal was to achieve sustainable development for all. So what they've done is that they introduced 17 targets, or 17 actually goals, with specific targets and with specific indicators. What was interesting is that the individual governments were responsible for setting their own specific targets based on their priorities and circumstances. So for example, SDG number 5 goal was to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. And the target was to ensure women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making in political, economic, and public life. So what encouraged us to really pursue this research is that in 2018, the UN Progress Report reported that women in managerial positions are, important indicator for attaining and reaching the SDG, and also which directly relates to SDG number 1, SDG number 8, and SDG number 10. So we were very encouraged that our work will bring some light onto what's going on in the women's world. So, and also post-Arab, there was a lot of reform and there are a lot of initiatives undertaken by the 3 countries post the Arab Spring. For example, in 2017, Egypt declared the year of Egyptian Women Year in 2017, and they, amongst other things, they appointed female minister to the cabinet, and also 20% of the cabinet seats were filled by female. In Tunis, Tunis also did a lot of work towards that goal. We reformed the constitution 2014 and then encouraged women's empowerment. Morocco was not, did not experience the uprising due to the swift actions taken by the king, but he also put the women initiative at the forefront of the parliament, and he also reserved seats only for women in the parliament. So they, there was a lot of initiative taken and a lot of progress taken towards women empowerment, which encouraged us to go ahead and conduct the research from 3 different parts of the world. So this is I'd like to share with you the data. It was not easy to put the data together. As I told you earlier, it was collected by hand. But just to give you a snapshot of what's going on, we have found that there was a lot of family linkage back in 2018. You can see here 35% of women on corporate board were linked to the owners of those corporations. 22%, 22.5 in Egypt, and 15.2 in Morocco. And I'm not sure if this is too small. I'm just gonna zoom into it because this is interesting that I was able to see that, for example, here, percentage of women corporate board members by industry sector. And you can see there were a lot more women in the financial insurance companies and bank in Morocco and Egypt. For telecommunication, there were 0. There were no corporate, there were no women in the corporate board in Morocco compared to Tunisia and Egypt. For consumer services, same thing, it was very low. I think technology was really highly represented in Tunisia. They had a 25% representation in the board. Energy and mining, Tunisia 33.3. I was really expecting to see a higher number here for Egypt. So those are the numbers that we were able to put together for in regards to the percentage of women corporate board members by industry and sector. So in terms of education, this was also very interesting finding. We found out that women education in terms of highest terminal degree, they were represented by 6% in Egypt, 8.7% in Morocco, and 19% in Tunisia. Master's degrees, as you can see, the highest number was in Morocco, and for the BA, highest numbers was in Egypt. So the last part here, the findings. What we have found is that women directors in the 3 countries were around 11% out of the 20% target that was set for them. And what was very interesting that some companies had no women at all in their corporate board. For example, we found that Morocco had 53.8% of corporations did not have any women at all. Tunisia, 38.8% did not have any women. And 60% of corporations in Egypt did not have any women representations in the corporate board. And here you can see details of the data. You can see here that out of 285 companies, numbers of women board members were about 281, really less, lower than the men. And also, you can see the percentage here on the bottom that they all hovered around 9.9 to 11%, very much lower than we were expecting, 20%, which was the target. And that is it. So this data was collected back in 2018. My co-authors and I are hoping that we're going to be able to do the same study to see where we're at, really post COVID-19, because women's affairs are not going to be in the forefront of any of the initiatives at this moment. So I will encourage you to go ahead and every time you purchase something or every time you interact with any organization, to really ask the question, who is representing in the corporate board, because the tone of the top really does matter, and you can see it, and I do see it firsthand in organizations and how it impacts the strategic goal of the organization, also how it impacts the leadership. So I want to take the last minute I have to thank you all for listening, and also for the conference organizers and for the reviewers and my co-authors. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass the micro back on to you.
Thank you very much, Jalila. I have a follow-up question here.
Sure.
How do you compare these percentages that you have presented for the 2 countries with maybe other developed countries?
I'm here. I reside in Massachusetts, Sudbury, Massachusetts, and I see that there is a lot of efforts being put in every sector. Then there is a huge push for diversity, for women, for gender equality. I see that there isn't a lot of effort. I'm speaking from a personal perspective, working as a consultant for different organizations. I see that the MENA region is not doing any effort at all that I can see.
But do you have economic data for comparison?
Yeah, there's some data, there's some progress. People who are really researching gender equality, they do have some data. So I'm happy to pull it up and share it with you. But I do see that there is a lot more that we can do in the MENA region. Actually, there's a lot more that we can do.
I'm not pushing for any kind of data, but
since we are writing this paper together, actually one of the things that we noticed is that the UN wrote that actually during the last 20 years, there has been progress in female labor participation in the MENA region. So we wanted to see whether this is reflect managerial board. We are participating. Did we reach the board, or we're still struggling to break the ceiling? And
I'm asking you, Dr. Heba, because for example, in the banking sector in Egypt, it's like 20-something, 23% or something like that. From my own perspective, this is very high. And I know that we have a lot of A lot of those women on board are getting international awards for serving on the boards of banks and financial institutions. Yeah, 26.4%. So I don't know from my perspective, is this high percentage or it's compared to other emerging countries would be valid?
According to a certain UN paper, they said that, as Jalila said, the minimum accepted is 20%.
So we are above the
So
benchmark.
26.4 is acceptable, okay? However, we don't have that, you know, we're working, women can reach in the financial sector, they cannot reach in other markets, like consumer service, like really saying that energy and mining is very low. Yes, I would think it would be that in Egypt, stereotype woman is not part of the engineering world or will not go to the deserts. That's remember the movie of Saad Hosni and Nadia Lotfi. So this is somehow, I'm looking at what's surprising would be the consumer service and the goods service. Industry and capital is 10% and real estate. So we don't have diversification in women role in reaching managerial places. Technology is very low. However, yes, anyone who worked in the financial sector would see that women are there. Women has a finger spot there in the financial market. I'm speaking about the Egyptian market. It's clear.
Okay, one final follow-up remark. When you're saying that women are there, women have a place in banks, do you think that this is because of a certain policy or procedure, or it is a national strategy? How do you explain it?
Okay, maybe because it's a systematic work. So the economy would give it to women to do this systematic work. But when it comes to, although there is a lot of risk in finance and taking decision, but at the end it's systematic. There is a paper that we should fill and we go into steps. So when it comes to risk, maybe women step back, or the economy let it step back, or the society let it step back.
I would think of it differently, that most of the banks in Egypt, at least, they are abiding with some international standards when it comes to gender equality, decent work in general, and this is how they are benchmarked internationally and even locally. So I think this gender balance is something mandatory when it comes to financial institutions. The other way around, when it comes to, for example, energy and mining, health and pharmaceutical industries, we have problems when it comes to the supply of labor. So you have less women or girls joining STEM schools in general. So this affects the flow of labor to these industries. So I think there is a structural problem in this area. Okay, so thank you very much, Dalila. We'll come back to you with questions from the floor after the presentation of Dr. Heba. Dr. Heba, now it's your presentation regarding social media perception and how this impacted decent work after COVID-19.
Okay. So let me start by introducing myself. I'm Dr. Heba Ghanem, University in Cairo, Management, Economic Department. And the story of my interest in decent work started with a paper that I did with Jalila, co-authored Jalila, when I actually read the decent work. I became very studied more. Today, I'm going into two main factors, looking at social would help in more focused on women, and COVID-19 is the interest of anyone. I was interested to look at how COVID-19 has would affect the decent work and economic growth sustainable development goal. And is a paper that I already, it's published. I will share with you about the impact of COVID. It's like a brainstorm what I'm trying to insert in my research as part of a question that I want to have an answer. Okay, so the first paper, this is decent work and economic growth. It's decent work for women through digital social economic growth encyclopedia, a major project between Springer and UN. It's an encyclopedia, 17 volume, one volume for each sustainable topics that you would think of. Okay, so my interest was in decent work and economic growth, which is the Sustainable Development Goal 8, and this goal says that how the economy is able to create jobs inclusively for both men and women, and with fair income, social protection, human dignity, significant and nature. So that's what we should reach in order to be sure that. And I asked myself, me as a woman, what do I want? What do I want from decent work? What I'm targeting? Yes, I want to be part of the market. I want to have income like anyone. I want to passion about what I'm working with passion. I'm doing what I like. And lately, that is actively empowered worldwide. However, with work-home balance, with the still woman is the caregiver, so, and the father is the breadwinner. Still, the policies around us do not incorporate this work-home balance. It's expected that we take the income and put our children in a daycare, and this would be fair enough, but it's not working. It's not working enough, and it's adding stress on our life, on our children, on our work. So for me, I want an economy that provides me with a job that, and I would be ruled with some work-home balance policies. I don't want just a job. I want a job that enable me to work and to have a home with my children, my family, and everything. And also, I don't want the economy that it's totally true. I want a leisure, and I want a work-leisure balance, and I want fine if I'm not working. I don't want to work. Not that I'm not working because the economy does not allow me. This is not decent enough. An economy that provide me with job opportunities that is achieving work-home balance, and I'm not facing discrimination, because actually there is a number of papers that with you that stated that pregnant women stated that they face discrimination, that they're usually not hired, that companies state that they want to hire women. This is very costly. Women take a lot of leaves, and they prefer not to hire it. So women also face the problem of, do you hear me? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, Eva,
Okay.
but it says that there is slow connection. So there are some internet.
Okay. So since digitalization is around us everywhere, We have even today's Professor Ralph presentation about digitalization. It's everywhere. So we are all having the smartphones in our hand. I started to ask myself how social network would achieve decent work. And looking at social networks, there are multiple social networks that lately had created new jobs that might that are based on maybe certain skills like those influencers and YouTubers, but also it provide new job opportunities for each and everyone, because now social networks are platform that we can reach a large number of. So there are a lot of mainly by women to help to help each other to share. Open an area for the women to make new business, to share, to start new ideas, to start something that they really care about and they are passionate about, like wooden craft, like making clothes, and they can reach large parts of consumers or individuals to sell these products. Also, there has been an area for this mother talks groups, and open an area now. There is coaching groups or people that provide coaching service through social networks. So in general, yes, this decent work can be achieved or not. Let's ask this question: is it achieved through the social networks? Yes, some people achieve fair income from these groups, and they're involved in decision making. It's their own business, and they take decision. And this would give them actually new skills, and they would gain some managerial skills, some supply chain, managerial skills, and they have flexible hours. They can keep social distance, because some people stated that they would prefer not to deal women not to deal with hard people or not to deal with specific group of people in work. So they can keep social distance if they want. They can have a new social network and gain know new people that enable them, that give them job opportunity. On the other hand, this social network groups or social network job opportunity is in the informal sector. And the problem of the informal sector, that there is no social security, and a decent work is a work that provide me income now and pension in the future. So but informal sector does not give this security. Also, there is no performance assessment, and I'm not sure I'm doing well or not. And there is no guarantee of career development. It's always vague. I'm not sure whether there is a real development. I'm not sure of that. Okay. So this was the paper. It was theoretical. And as you see, it's opening an area for further the research to empirically test these theoretical ideas. I'm still pushing in work, and now I started to see how COVID-19 worked. It's opportunity. Going back to decent work, definition: decent work create jobs for both men and women, attend to fair income, social protection, human dignity, securing significant time for family, and the UN set these targets here, these 8 targets here, to achieve the decent work, to achieve each and every component of the decent work. We have these 8 dimensions. Okay, so there must be economic in order to ensure new job opportunities. There must be diversification. So the economy is not concentrated on one sector. No, there should be diversification where benefits goes to each and everyone. The economy should provide productive activity, there should be added value, there should be opportunities for new ideas, entrepreneurship, creation, innovation. And is a situation where both women and men are treated fairly in income and in place for each and every one persons with disability, protect and have safe and secure working environments, strengthen the capacity of domestic financial institutions, promote sustainability and the economy, providing jobs for youth. Yes. So these are the targets that the UN try to achieve in order to create or to ensure that the economy ends up with decent work. And actually, if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals in Egypt, we find that actually these 7 targets are in our Sustainable Development Goals. They target all of them at the end are in these 8 targets in an attempt to achieve this decent work and economic growth and in an attempt to achieve the whole Sustainable Development Goals. And I would ask you a question. What do you think? What of these targets would not be achieved under COVID-19? So maybe for me, I see that each and every point or each and every dimension of these 8 targets are affected. So the economy, when there is COVID-19, lockdown appeared, and with lockdown, economic growth would decrease and there would be less job opportunity. There is no area for more diversification. There is a fear that investors would run away for an investment, would go back, and there would be this capital flight outflow. There is a tourism shock, and actually what's important about tourism is that it's a labor-intensive sector. So this is what we need. We need to create more job opportunities, and it can be a leading sector if it were correct. It provides job opportunities for skilled and unskilled labor, and at the same time, it gives skills to those in the sectors. It adds to those who enter the tourism center. So under COVID-19, there was tourism shock, and there's uncertainty about when will the tourists come back or when the tourism would go to its regular generating income values. There is less trade, and with less trade, then we're not importing our inputs, some of the imports, and maybe this would affect the production because we'll not be able to produce as we're doing before. Some firms now are stating that social distance is of high cost, is costing them so much and adding to their cost, and they have to add digital. They have to look for means that keep social distance, and at the end, all these factors led to unemployment. The economy is not providing decent jobs. However, on the other hand, it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs. So if some people are actually unemployed now, maybe they will start to do some small project through even social networks or through social media in general. So for example, in the oil sector now, my friends are leaving multinational companies such as Halliburton and British petroleum countries. And it's actually releasing a lot of people because the oil sector is actually due to the COVID-19 impact. However, these are middle managers that have high skills from the multinational companies, and maybe there is this is good opportunity. They start their own business, or maybe they go to local companies and use their experience in multinational companies in these companies. it's an area for new ideas. It's an area for new application on the phone. It's an area for new tools and new means to reach consumers and sell products. So actually, a lot of firms, a lot of restaurants, when there was the lockdown, they started to send us messages that if you cannot come and buy, we can send you the recipe, we can send you the component to do it at home. So there's starting to be new ideas, new means to sell. We have now a kind of obligatory digitalization. We are all using in a way or another digital components. So a couple of years ago, like Jalila said, I have to go fly 18 hours to attend a conference in US. Now I'm attending a virtual conference when I'm sitting in my dining room. So we are all using digitalization and it's benefiting us. Now there is a lot of application on our mobile phone that we didn't know about, like those applications that deliver vegetables and fruits to our home. Now we are all obliged to use it. So we open an area of digital marketing, and we're opening an area for new market. We had the opportunity of flexible hours. Many people now are remote working. So they're working from home. So they maybe can have the time with their children and have the time with their parents, so they can have somehow balanced time. Financial inclusion. Now, each and everyone should be included in the financial sector. Now, for example, here in Egypt, you cannot pay the taxes unless you have a visa. So the government is adopting policies of bye-bye Daya, stopping cash, in which make each and everyone into the financial market. Our economy, our government have been trying for a couple of years to create financial inclusion, to include everyone. And COVID-19 in 1 year did what they tried for a couple of years. Health awareness, we were always saying that the informal sector, the problem in the informal sector, that they're working with no regulation, no health regulation, no environmental regulation. Now we all have health awareness, even the informal sector. Now we all hire people to help us at home, and without telling them, they just enter with their mask, they keep cleaning their hand. So there is some health awareness that's shared by each and everyone, even people that didn't care much about it. However, two components are left, which is a great questions, and achieving them depends on the government. COVID-19 has raised an important issue. Social security need to be structured. Social security, social laws, and this is what the government trying to do. In the success of the government of providing good social security system would be a sign of success of COVID-19, because it's clear that COVID-19 had raised, we need to have a system that support people at time of shocks. And we need to embed in the labor laws regulation that support people, individual laborers at times of shocks, and that gives people the right of balanced time, that give the people more flexible hours. Of course, all these are questions, unanswered questions. As I'm saying, I'm trying to put them inside in my research and my students' research in order to know more whether COVID-19 is a real threat or it created opportunity. And thank you, and waiting for your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Heba. Just one follow-up question before receiving questions from the audience. Talking about the opportunities, maybe, that COVID-19 created for what you call decent work. Like, for example, the flexible hours, the use of digital media, and so on. I don't know. I have a feeling that this is not or these are not variables that should be included in the decent work index, so to say, because they came out of a triggering event, and they are not institutionalized. We are just pressured, or we don't have any way out or any other strategies to follow except considering digital media, considering working from home, considering other forms of opportunities that you have mentioned.
What you're saying, maybe these are not sustainable, and we're speaking about sustainable development.
I mean, if we take them as like variables that are pushed or pulled, they were pushed on us, not out of decent work, not because we believe that this is what is right for us. So, for example, if we are given some days off, this is not because we care about our employees, just because there is COVID, and then we just want people to stay at home so they don't get contaminated and so on. So it is not something that is not only sustainable, but it's not part of this decent work index.
No, but with the bank that is starting of making remote working after COVID-19. They might keep making it one contract to have remote working even after the end of COVID-19, because this is less cost to them, because you don't need to provide them with an office. So if you accept it and you find that it gives you fair income, you're taking an income equivalent to your effort. If you find them giving you ledger and balanced life, if you find that you will have security, okay, so you will have a pension and you will have health insurance, then it's a decent work.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So now, any questions for Dr. Heba or Gilda? I see a hand. Okay, Professor Sabine?
Yes, I wanted to comment. I mean, this is, I guess, the decent work aspect for women, especially with family. Now, regardless, let's say, income is a very important topic. So what would you consider in a, let's say, in an academic environment? How would you, what is the framework you would construct to create a decent work environment? So I give you an example. I don't have kids. I'm not married, so I have the possibility to, let's say, to raise the amount of time I'm spending in academia, because I can manage my plan completely independently. So, but let's say, I think this is, let's say in Egypt, for instance, a minority. So what would you advise, or what is your suggestion? What needs to be changed in an environment like ours? It could be, let's say, it could be a private university or whatsoever. So in an environment where we say, okay, so most of the staff members are highly educated. So what do you think, what needs to be changed or needs to be adapted to create this decent work environment to contribute to the SDGs?
Okay, so thank you, Professor Sabine. And actually, it's not only for a person who has children, family, parents, friends. So it's work-leisure balance, it's work-family balance. Maybe the majority of the Egyptians here is looking for time for their children. So that's maybe my concern, maybe because now we are just having schools at home with work at home. I'm thinking of that. However, policies, if you're speaking about academic in Egypt are usually flexible hour option for women. You would find that the majority of academics in Egypt are women because they're given the option of flexible hour. They're given the option of part-timer. They have 3 months at summer with no obligation. Okay, the universities are totally closed, public universities, so they have the time for their families. So actually, academic is one of the fields in Egypt that has flexible hours, that has opportunity to work anytime, to work any place. And the same for example, schools, and that's why you find majority of females going to the education sector in general. However, in academic life or any life, there should be support. So there should be a daycare, a good daycare for children. There should be opportunities or leaves where if you want to, for example, take care of your family, you take care of your parents, so you're given this option. It's easy. It doesn't affect your career. It doesn't affect your promotion, your step into the future. You have this opportunity. You have the opportunity to support your family, and at the same time, it doesn't step back your career. Actually, I know a friend that was obliged to resign because she has given two children, just one between them 1 year. So this is not decent by any means. If this is not part of human dignity. So, and actually this happened in the financial sector, in banks. And so there should be a system where women given the right to live normally. To achieve this, there should be institutional change. The labor law should be clear cut. And there is no way for that the company would play around. The law is clear and it's clear cut, and you should oblige with. So it's mainly the companies given opportunity. Institutions is clear. Institutions labor law is clear and clear cut. Here the Egyptian law, for example, give the woman 4 months to stay at home, full salary. Okay, but who do that? Schools would give them. The law is something, and what's happening in real life. And as I tell you, one of my friends was obliged to resign. You will not take a maternity leave again. You have to resign. So the law is something, and what's happening in real life is something else. How shall the woman accelerate? How should she go in her career path? So laws should be applied. Institutions is important for having this decent work.
May I ask a question here, follow-up question? This will make me seem not a feminist enough. Okay? So I think in Egypt, it's not only like decent work is not only or women and men actually face problems when it comes to decent work. It's not only women. So if women are discriminated against if they are pregnant or they deliver children or they're taking care of their parents, whatever, there are other reasons that would make the workplace discriminate against men. For example, if they have health problems, they are also forced to resign. If they want to take care of their parents, again, they don't have time for that. They are expected to work for longer hours. There is a problem of expectation. So I think decent work, the problem of decent work applies to both genders.
I think we're back to institutions, to laws.
What do you mean?
I mean, there should be clear in the law that this is part of our rights. This is part of labor law and should be applied. It's regular that.
I agree with the low point, but I'm just stating that it's not a problem of gender. It's not a problem of discrimination against women when it comes to decent work. I'm talking about problem of rights. in general when it comes to the application of decent work on both men and women?
Let's put it this way. I don't want to put a feminist, let's say, discussion here, but I think you could argue if everything is okay, if it's not only a women's problem, so you could argue, and this is a point in a lot of societies, so is linked to a decent work, is there also a certain career opportunity related? So, and if we look, let's say, and I think this is in general in academia, so if you look at the, let's say, the percentage of women in a career, let's say, or in a top management position, this is in all, let's say, in a lot of societies, this is still very low. So if you say it is, let's say, it is a general problem, so then I could say, or it's not related to gender, so why is the amount or the percentage of women so low in a specific, or let's say in a position where you can create more, yeah? So where you can contribute to the, let's say, to the, where you can contribute or create certain contents, etc. Yeah. So we are not working as an instructor, but we're working as a, let's say, as a head of department, a dean, or whatsoever. And I think this is somehow related to this discussion. So what is a decent, what is the consequence of a decent work environment? Is it also a career path? And there I slightly disagree with you, that it is not a gender, it is, the question is, this is our reality. So, yeah. And it's not, the question is, of course, we saw it in the previous presentation. So if you look at the board members, there is only, let's say, there is a huge percentage in Egypt having a BSc or a bachelor, but a very small amount of women in a board function with a master and a PhD. So it was only 5 and 6%. So what is the, so where is this related to?
Less paper, and actually because in Egypt the majority are in as I said, in the financial market, and they don't need to make a master or PhD. They can reach the board without doing so. So why would they do it? The majority of who are having a PhD are actually, most of them were in the medicine field, because the regulation in Egypt or pushes the doctors or the physician to finish their masters and PhDs. So those reached a board in the medicine field definitely have a PhD. So again, what I'm saying, it's the laws. The laws in the medicine sector pushes people to finish, to reach higher, to reach the master and PhD. For example, an academic in a medicine school cannot open a clinic unless he has a PhD. So they all try to get PhD, to accomplish PhD, in order to have this sustainable income from the clinic.
Mm-hmm.
I just one final remark, Professor Sabino, when it comes to your comments. Yes, I agree, but there are certain institutions now seeing that offering men an opportunity for decent work is actually giving, at the same time, is giving decent work opportunities for women. For example, if I give men an opportunity for paternity, this will leave room for women also to look after their career path, and as well as create this work-life balance, or what Dr. Heba calls work-leisure balance. So this
according to my knowledge, in German there is a maternity leave for men.
Yeah, but this is because, and according to what I know also, this is because they want to encourage, also increase the population. To
I
increase
agree with
birth rate and so on.
you, Dr.
But
Ragda.
I mean, in general, providing opportunities for decent work for men is accordingly giving opportunities for decent work for women. This is what I mean.
Can I make a small comment here, if you allow me, Dr. Ragda and Professor Zabina? I just want to share one slide because I have been working on a research that had to do with gender equity or equality, and I want to share with you just a statistic that relates to the ERF UN Women Report, to add to what to add just another dimension, which is the cultural aspect. And this is the ERF and UN Women Report that was issued in 2020, and it shows some statistics here that are very peculiar, actually. If you look here about the percentage agreeing that men should have priority when jobs are scarce, which is panel A, you'll find the numbers are really high. This means a high level of agreement. And in panel B also, which looks at being a housewife is as fulfilling as working for pay, it's also high, you know? So there's a cultural aspect also involved with issues that have to do with decent work for women and gender equity and so on. And also, if we look at here, there are also a lot of, I don't know if I can see it properly, it's a bit small, but there is a lot of other factors that affect the role of gender in employment and so on, such as the industry norms, the organization culture, the local policies of the country, the culture of the country, the home support system. So a lot of indicators, a lot of other factors that we have to take into consideration to kind of close this discussion. So it's an open issue, it's an open area for research still. And with COVID-19 also, you have further implications, further pressures on women. For example, that I mean, as the presenters mentioned, you know, the what do you call it, care for the children and so on. This all of this, the closure of schools, all of this affects the role of women and how this affects their employment. Yeah.
Definitely, we're not trying to find a clear-cut solution or a resolution. We're just like entertaining thoughts on the interesting presentations of Jalila and Dr. Hera. So yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Heba and Jalila, for the very interesting presentations and stimulating very interesting discussion as well. So this is the end actually of our conference, day 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would like to leave the floor to Professor Noha for concluding remarks.
Okay, I I want to thank so many people. This has been a great event, and I want to start by thanking the deans of the 3 faculties for supporting this event. Professor Zabina Müller, Professor Ihab Kamel, Professor Mustafa Baraka. I want to thank Professor Mahmoud Al-Khafif. I want to thank Dr. Ragda Al-Ibrashi. I want to thank Professor Ralph. I want to thank Dr. Hadi Hamed and Dr. Hagar Adib, who spent endless hours in the organization and kind of pulling this off together and sending the links and connecting all the dots and coordinating between us, all of us. It has been a pleasure, and it has been a great experience. I hope we can repeat it. Just a few thoughts that come to mind, and I want to open the floor for a few final remarks with from the whoever is attending, especially the organizers. I think we have now reached the kind of a general conclusion that the disciplinary boundaries are sort of melting in the sustainability discussion, and this is the future. I think the interdisciplinary connections between different viewpoints and different perspectives are the future for the discourse on sustainability and sustainable development. I think this conference gave us a fresh perspective And I see so many excellent research projects ongoing. I hope they are maintained and continued and even extended. I hope this also reflects in team. I think Dr. Heba Ghonim mentioned that she's trying to promote this also, issues that have to do with decent work, for example, in her teaching. I think we should all do this and try to reflect this in our teaching, so there is a kind of of teaching and education, and so that we also spread awareness about the topic to students. I think also one of the thoughts that came to mind at the closure of this event is that COVID-19 has benefited digitalization for sure, but to what extent it has benefited sustainability, this is yet to be found out. And I hope we can build back greener. We started off with this issue of building back greener, and to what extent digitalization is actually overlapping with sustainability is a question, which I think also Professor Ralph has raised when he raised about the question of whether digital transformation and sustainable production, for example, meet at a certain point. So these kinds of intellectual discourse and intellectual discussions, I think, bring us a step closer towards sustainability and sustainable development. I want to thank all the presenters. I think all the presentations were very insightful from different perspectives. And I want to open the floor now for any final remarks from the organizers or from the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you all.